And this is why, after living in Jamaica for just 3 years, I had to migrate to the United States. This man literally did not let me breathe. It was overwhelming. It was scary. If you're new here, hi, my name is Flor. I am Cuban and I've been living in Jamaica for 21 years. And after watching this video, you will know that there was a little interruption in that 21-year period. On my last video, you all requested the story as of the reason why I had to leave Jamaica and go to the United States. I still live in Jamaica. Sometimes I bounce between the places. Right now, I'm not even in Jamaica, but Jamaica is my home. Adesso may yade, adesso may marama farade. Jamaica is my home, my primary home. So this is a reason why, after living in Jamaica for just 3 years, I had to go to the United States. And of course, if you have been watching my content for some time, you know that I'm Cuban and that you know that in Jamaica there is this stigma all over the world that Cubans' ultimate dream is to go to Miami, Calle Ocho, Hialeah, Miami Beach, el cubaneo, arroz con frijoles, la carreta. You don't know all them Cuban things there. But for this our Cuban girl here, if you watch the reasons why I moved to Jamaica, you will see that I never had those intentions. It was never appealing to me. It wasn't even appealing to me while I was living there. But that's for another story. My time living in Miami, that's another story. Let me know in the comments if you want to hear it. But it was never my intention to go to the United States. I never had any plans. It was not really attractive to me at all. So I migrated to Jamaica in 2003. I was working at Island Eyewear. We're coming from my last post. I was working at Island Eyewear and I was, let's say, the main manager, supervisor in the store. And I learned customer service skills by working at Emotion Dance and Fitness Center and also by my mother in law. I think my mother in law is the best customer service person I have ever met. Like she's excellent. She can sell ice to an Eskimo. Me not exaggerate, me not ask nobody that. She's excellent. So I learned from the best. So part of the thing that comes with giving good customer service is with being kind, understanding, listening to people, smiling, just being nice, generally nice with everybody, regardless of your age, regardless of your background, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of what you are walking into the store to do. If you were soliciting, if you were begging, if you were lost, once that door opened at Island Eyewear in Ligani, and hopefully up to this day at any Island Eyewear, all you will see inside is smiles and welcome faces and caring and warm words. But unfortunately, some people take them things to art and then start to create stories in their head, apparently. There was more than one reason why we decided to leave Jamaica and go to the United States. But what started this mindset of leaving Jamaica between my husband and I was this incident. Well, first I stopped working in the store. What happened prompted me to stop working in the store. So I was doing more admin work from home. I will go to the store sometimes, but I will stay home and do some admin work from there. There was a system called Team Viewer that allowed you to log in into the computer from where you were. Thank goodness for technology. So I was doing some back admin work from the house and not so much upfront with the customer service after this incident happened. But we already had that mindset that it's not working out for us in Jamaica, not financially at all. It was not because of finances at all. And you will see that playing out later on in this video. But we already had that mindset because of this one main incident. Let's go back to the beginning. Just one regular day, I am in the store and the door opens and it's this young man, and I will never forget, he's like this Indian looking guy and he was bald head and he had a beard, nicely dressed, and he comes into the store and he asking about eyeglasses and how everything with the eyeglasses is and how he could get eyeglasses, all professional questions, nothing trying to make a move on me, nothing like that. I obviously offer him all the information that he was requesting, and I help him just like how I help any other customers. And he left. But then after that day, he came back again, and he came back again, and he came back again, and he was not purchasing eyeglasses. So Denise, if you watch my last video, Denise, my coworker, and I were wondering what's going on here. This is a little bit suspicious. So after about 10 visits or so, he started showing his interest on me. So I said to him, I am married. I don't have any interest. So he had this demeanor of being disappointed, sad, and upset at the same time. That was very, it was very dark. It was very dark. So he started coming into the store more often and just sitting there in the store and just looking. We had no security, we had no bosser, so he could just walk into the store and just sit there and basically harass me. He did this for months until there was a point where above the lunchroom in the store there was an attic, and whenever we will see him through the glass, because you could see from inside but you could not see from outside, whenever I will see him coming, I will run inside the lunchroom, climb on the little ladder, and go up and hide in the attic, because I was terrified of this guy. I was so scared of him. So after I started doing that for a couple of times, there were some police officers from the Ligani police station. I don't know if they were retired, but they never worn a uniform, and they were older men. And they would do rounds around the shops in Ligani Lane Plaza, and you will see them around the area. They were very cordial, very nice. It was like big uncle. They come to the store and they would sit down and chat with us and have a good time. So I spoke to them about it, and they said, no, Flora, this is not normal. You have to let us know. And whenever you see him coming again, call us. So they give me their cell phone number. I never had their cell phone number to that point because there was no need. And I give Denise the phone, and Denise called them. So they showed up while he was there. They pulled him out of the store. They spoke to him, and he stopped coming to the store. I was so relieved. You know, I could do my work in peace. I don't have to hide anymore, nothing like that. But because I lived in Kingston 6, very near the store, this guy will start popping up at the supermarket while I was at the supermarket. He started popping up at the pharmacy if I went to the pharmacy. If we went to the gas station, he will be there. We went to the movies. So when we went to the movies now, and he was there, my husband and I went to the movies, and he was there, this was the last straw. Like my husband, he tried to keep it. First of all, he never had the chance to have an encounter with this guy. Um, and second, he was trying to prevent further disasters. So that night when we went to the movies and he was there, and I just so nervous, and so I am fearing this guy, and at the same time, I'm fearing the consequences of my husband having an interaction with this guy. So my husband, like, sort of like shouted at him and told him to leave us alone, and just stop following us and all of that. So that ended there. But at the same time, during this period, which was the year two, after between the year 2003 and 2006, Jamaica was a completely different landscape from what it is right now. If you have never been to Jamaica, if you don't know this about Jamaica, Jamaica was the murder capital of the world for many, many years. It has always been a very violent place to live. So, but if you live in Jamaica in certain communities, and if you live a certain lifestyle in Jamaica, chances are that you will never experience, or you will not be affected by the violence. You will definitely know of people who have been unalive, that have been victims of violence in Jamaica. You will definitely, like, I have tons of employees who their siblings or parents or family members have been unalive, and they all have been victims of violence in Jamaica. But but it may not touch you directly, like it will not happen to you or to your sibling. So for me now, coming from Cuba and dropping in this environment, this was a very huge cultural shock. And one of the reasons why I didn't include this in my cultural shocks is because when it comes to them Tinder, you have to be very careful on how you share the information, and that one single cultural shock deserves a whole 30-minute video. I cannot just drop that in there because I am very respectful. I am very understanding of Jamaican culture and I work with it. And the way that I found to work with it was living, because I just could not manage it. And let's get into details. I'd share with you a few experiences, a few momentums that really affected me psychologically, that give me what I'm still suffering today, a lot of anxiety. So if you have watched my other videos, you know that living in Cuba, and as an effect of the all the things that I suffer, I developed PTSD through that. But when I moved to Jamaica now, I had that what I like to call a squirrel syndrome. I had severe anxiety where you constantly have to be looking over your shoulder and you just feel unsafe every single second, every single waking second. And I know when I say you are exaggerate and the thing don't turn so and yeah, not so bad. And it's true. Let's take a step back and think about how violence is in Cuba, how violence was in Cuba back in the early 2000 when I was living in Cuba. The violence in Cuba is zero. There is no which violence. There's no violence. Like the most it would be like people are drinking at carnival and get drunk and a fight may break. You do have a lot of domestic violence in a sense that there is a lot of men who women leave them so they unalive the wife and unalive themselves. That is the type of violence I heard like maybe once a year in a town that is miles away from mine, but we never experienced that armed robbery, assault, unaliving on the streets, nothing like that. Cubans don't have guns. Like the most you can have is like a knife. So I was coming from a very peaceful, very zen country where, yes, somebody may rob you on the streets, but that was like very rare. Like that, those are stories that you hear passed down. Like you don't know your neighbor who was assaulted and they stole his wallet from him. People will snatch your chain. There was a period when people will do that, but that was very rare. And to make it even more peaceful, I come from the country. Like people who are in Havana or living in any major city in Cuba will be exposed to more violence than somebody who lives in the country, because in the country everybody know everybody. So if you commit a crime in the country, you're going to be found out and you're going to be put behind bars. And that's another thing about Cuba. Committing a crime is a little bit more difficult because everybody are fast pan everybody business and everybody are tell pan everybody. So if you do anything, you will be found out and put behind bars. So when I moved to Jamaica now, and you are just going about your daily life, not troubling anybody. So you're going about your business, you're going to buy some groceries. It was a weekend the first time this happened, and we were driving down Hope Road, and there was an unalive man there on the sidewalk. Broad daylight. You will be going to Price Mart. You see that little stretch from when you pass Lee's supermarket and before you reach Price Mart. Must have been like about seven different unalive people me did see in the liquor road there. Me never like figure a Price Mart. Me and Price Mart not agree just because of that liquor piece of road there. And because we're living in Kingston Sticks, we have to take that route. So in addition to that, seeing all of this and seeing how people will react to it, like people will just gather around and just look and There was no empathy, there was no remorse, there was no nothing like that. It was just normal. It was just like seeing roadkill basically. Those things really affected me emotionally, mentally. Um, and then something happened to us directly. So we were living in this townhouse complex, and it was a hilly terrain. So we will be above, and there was another townhouse complex below us. And one day we came home from work. My husband drove me home from work, and it was night already. And we drove in, and we were walking from the parking lot into the townhouse, and we hear shots. And when I look, I saw our neighbor jumping out of the car and jumping over a fence that I don't know how he survived that fall, because the fence was so high. So you would be able to jump the fence because the dirt was here, but when you come off the fence, the fall was so high. Anyways, he survived. Apparently, some people were following him, and this was a trend back then. They will follow you when you leave work and then cut you off and steal the vehicle from you. I don't remember which type of vehicle he drove, but it was a very popular vehicle. And in that area we were living, that was a very hot matter. So I saw my neighbor almost getting shot right in front of my eyes. I heard the gunshots. I saw the crooks jumping in the car and going back. I saw everything play out. Not one police. We're not saying no, not one police. So it just gives you that sense of insecurity. It gives me that sense of insecurity. Let me speak for myself. It gives me that sense of insecurity that this can happen to you at any time. You may not be as lucky as of being able to jump and escape. And if it happens to you, there will be little to no justice, chances are. So from that day onward, every time we were coming home from work, I will sit facing back so I could see if somebody was following us to the townhouse. Once my husband parked, he will come out of the car and go and open the door, and then I will remove my heels and run from the car to the house. Now you tell me now if that is a way of a human being living. This was back in the early 2000s, but to this day, I am sure there are many Jamaicans who live in their community under these circumstances. And I was not living in an ghetto, and I was not living in an garrison, and I was living in an lane. It was a very expensive townhouse on top of a hill. And that was my living circumstances. That was the stress and the anxiety that I was under. There was some other incidents of violence, like we were driving in the night, and my husband did a u-turn. The road was empty, but he did a u-turn in a road that was supposed to do a u-turn. So a police car was on the road, and they stopped us, and it turned out that it was a superintendent that was inside the car. Now he was not prepared to give us a ticket, and he only wanted to talk to us and say, you did something wrong, you're not supposed to do them thing there and whatever, whatever. So he stopped us, and when he came out of the vehicle to talk to us, there was another police officer with him in the car, and the police officer took out his rifle and pointed it at my husband while the superintendent was talking to him. So now I'm inside the vehicle. Now, when I look behind me, I see this man with this big AK, whatever it was, pointing at my husband just because he did an illegal U turn. Must have been like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Um, I just started shouting, and I was just so nervous. I didn't know what to do with myself. I think at some point the superintendent said, I wonder if she has papers, because I was screaming in Spanish. It wasn't even in patois or anything like that. But that was the end of it, meaning like it was not a big deal. And then the superintendent ordered that police officer to put his weapon down and all of that, because he was just pointing at my husband for no reason. So it was little things like that that make me very nervous, very anxious, and my mental state deteriorated. I was suffering from depression and anxiety. I couldn't sleep at night. I had panic attacks back to back. I would have to go to the hospital because I felt like I was having a heart attack, because I had a headache, because of this, that, until one doctor said to me, "But you are here again." No, my girl, something not right. So he looked at me and said, say you are a very healthy person. Nothing is wrong with you physically. And I'm gonna do all the tests to prove to you that you have no disease that is going to kill you. The only problem that you have is that your head top, head no good. You are go mad. And you have to do something about it, and you have to do something about it quick. So he gave me a prescription for medications, but I always knew that medications have a lot of side effects. So at that moment, I looked into myself and I said, I either take the medication and succumb to the side effects and suffer even more, or I either work on this on my own and try to fix it. So that also was something that added to our decision of leaving Jamaica back then. So my husband said the best thing that we can do is to step away from all of these. Let's not say that we are migrating indefinitely. Let us say that we are just going there to take advantage of the Cuban adjustment law, so that if they decide to change it, remove it, alter, we have already taken advantage of it before things change. My husband is a visionary. He can predict the future, okay? Because very soon after, things started to change little by little. We basically sold all our belongings. We didn't own any home. We had a car and we had things inside houses that we rented, okay? Inside the house that we rented, the townhouse that we rented. We sold everything. I was so surprised. We made so much money on a garage sale. It was incredible amount of money. We sold the car, we packed everything, and he had his visa and I had my visa. We took a plane from Destino Miami, where my auntie lived, and I stayed there with her. And right away, well, I got an extension first, and then I started the process to apply for my residency now, because I arrived in the United States, and this is something tricky. I don't even know if this is valid for today, but it's good information to have. It's a good piece of information for the whole story. So because I was traveling to the United States with my Jamaican passport, there was a chance they could do this to me if they wanted. They could deport me back to Jamaica. They cannot deport me back to Cuba because there was no deportation treaty between the United States and Cuba, but they could deport me back to Jamaica. I was so lucky I didn't have the need for employment because I was working remotely for Island Eyewear already. I was able to micromanage customer service, micromanage sales, and micromanage insurance payments. So I will call customers, I will, to check on how the service is and make sure that everything was in order. So the company was doing excellent while I was managing from remotely from overseas. All I had to do was just sit down and wait a year and 1 day. And then when the year and 1 day passed, then you put in your application for your residency. Okay. And my husband could do the same because he was married to me. So when the time came now, it's very funny because we were living in Florida and it was such a horrible experience and I did not like it. And you're probably going to think that's so weird because it's beer Cuban there. But the Cubans that leave Cuba and go to Florida we fell in love with Georgia and we moved to Georgia. So when my application was time for submitting my application, I did it in Georgia and the gentleman was like, why should I give you residency? Like, who are you and what are you doing here? And I said, well, I am Cuban. Yo soy cubana, mi vida, por eso me tienes que dar la residencia. And he's okay, hold on, wait here. So he had to go for this big thick book to go looking there to see why is it that he had to give me the residency. And he was like, Oh, the Cuban adjustment law. Okay. So there was no questions asked. There was no nothing, absolutely nothing. Because Cubans usually go to Florida or they will go to other states. Like Georgia is not the first port of entry for Cubans normally. Now, yes, but not back then. Definitely not back then. Maybe Houston and Florida. So he put in our application, and all we had to do was wait a couple of weeks, and we got our green card in like 2 weeks' time. We got our green cards. So we were American residents, and we were so excited to be able to go back to Jamaica after almost 3 years in the United States without traveling, and used to see everybody, and just to go back to the island. And it was shocking. It was, after being in the United States for so long, going back and seeing the juxtaposition, like, the clash between people with these very exuberant um brand name cars driving on these roads that are full of pothole, and don't even a horse car is supposed to be driving there, riding there. So it was a very good experience. While I was in the United States, I did a lot of work on myself, just me getting over depression, panic attacks, and anxiety attacks on my own, without the assistance of any medication, without any counseling, without any psychiatrist, psychologist. It was something that made me stronger. I was also more mature. My husband and I were on our own without any family of his around as well. Um, and it just give us time to grow as people, because we were just like barely 20 little bit. So we grew up, we were in a different country, we mature more, and we took it slow. So the United States were our home was our home in Georgia. That was our home base. And we will travel to Jamaica and come back 2 weeks. So it was little by little. Oh, we're coming for 2 weeks. Oh, we're coming for 3 weeks. We're spending 3 weeks here, 2 weeks there, and back and forth between Georgia and Jamaica, until we became comfortable and the business was transitioning, and a lot of things were changing. I was opening a clothing store. So we decided that it will be more practical to spend more time in Jamaica, until the time came where the companies split. And if you want to get preference for this, that video is also posted there on how Jamaica made me change careers. When the company split, that's when we definitely had to make Jamaica our home, full-time home base, because the kids were going to school in Jamaica, and we were still traveling back and forth. But after that, we stopped the back and forth traveling fully. So, yeah, that is the reason why I had to leave Jamaica and move to the United States. And the reason why we decided to go to the United States and not other country is because it was the other country that we knew, and I had family support there, because my grandfather lived in Miami and my auntie lived in Miami. That I stay at her house, and I would forever be grateful for my auntie to taking me and my husband in during that period. We found an apartment afterwards and moved on our own, and that was the end of it. But I got to spend time with her and spend time with my grandfather, who I did not grow up with, because I see your painting is so nice. It's very abstract. Was like the only good thing about living there. But yeah, so just to give you that understanding on how your culture, your background will clash with the place that you are moving into. And I cannot wait to hear your stories from all the way around. How was your experience if you are a Jamaican moving to another country, where you don't have to be constantly be under siege, on like you don't constantly have to be looking over your shoulder, you constantly don't have to be worrying, um thinking if this is going to happen to you, how you can prevent this from happening to you. And I say, everywhere in the world is violent, everywhere in the world bad things can happen to you. But Jamaica is like one of those places where we can go after three without one bare excitement happening. If some fire don't shot, somebody a shop, somebody, some store rob. So always I go down festive. The place always festive. Jamaica always a keep. So when you move to another place now, even when you travel, you realize that boy, me not have to worry so much. Me not have to, me not have to so I would love to hear your experience once you left Jamaica. How was your process of adaptation to peace and non-violence? And if you are someone who have done it all the way around, if this has affected you to this level that affected me in the past. All of this is in the past for me now. Me no business again. Yes, it is, you have to watch over yourself, that you have to worry yourself and all them things there, but it's absolutely not the same that it used to be before. You don't see so much unalive people on the roadside again. We don't know what changed from the early 2000s, but those things like that doesn't happen that often. I don't experience that often anymore. It doesn't come at that close to home anymore. I have been out of Jamaica for the past 8 months, and a lot of things have changed since lately as well. So I have been lucky that I have not experienced that. But one thing I can tell you, Jamaica beautiful, but Jamaica rough at the same time. So some boy no know this and only come around like tourists in the beach with the flick up sodas, bedtime story, and post like the name shot Norris and know they're real hardcore. So I really hope that this story inspired you and motivated you to trust yourself, to believe in your powers within, um, to give you hope of overcoming whatever circumstances you're going through in life, to weigh your options and know that there is always a way out and a way back. And just to let you know that Jamaica is a beautiful place, it's a beautiful island with beautiful people, and hopefully one day we will be able to live a more peaceful way of life in our beautiful island. So let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. Mwah. Mucho love.